Ever walk out of a meeting like, did I just say that out loud?
Oh, tell me about it.
You know when you totally fumbled the emotional ball?
Yeah, like you said yes when you met.
Like a big nope, or froze up when you have the perfect comeback.
Absolute best.
Well, good news, folks. That's our deep dive, emotional intelligence. Now, let me tell you, we've got some juicy sources.
It's high time we ditch that whole idea that we're stuck with the emotional range we're born with.
Right, like a bad hand of cards.
This isn't about being nice. It's about understanding, the why behind how we feel
The how, the why.
and actually using that knowledge to navigate, well, everything. Relationships, work, ourselves.
It's like we found the instruction manual we never even knew we needed. And our sources, they break it down. Emotional intelligence, or EI, it's all about these four things: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management.
The four pillars.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, though,
Let's define this whole emotional intelligence thing.
yeah, what are we even talking about here?
So it's not just about, having emotions.
Which we all have plenty of.
It's about understanding them
Yeah.
and managing them effectively.
In ourselves and...
Oh, yeah, in others, too. That's the real key here.
Because this isn't just some, like, touchy-feely concept, right? Our sources are crystal clear. Mastering this emotional intelligence, it can lead to, like, way stronger relationships, better communication, and, drum roll please,
Hit me with it.
that dream career path.
No kidding. One study even mentioned people with higher EI 10 times more likely to be top performers.
10 times. Okay, sign me up.
Right.
But let's be real. We've all had those moments where, oops, emotions got the best of us. So where do we even start with this whole EI journey?
It always starts from within, with self-awareness, like hitting pause on autopilot, asking yourself, okay, what am I actually feeling right now?
Checking in
And why? Why am I feeling this way?
instead of letting those emotions just run the show.
Exactly.
So instead of, like, snapping at a coworker when they criticize my project,
Which we've all been there.
self-awareness helps me, take a breath and say, this feedback, it's making me feel defensive. Why is that?
Exactly. And here's the thing. It's not just those big, obvious emotions, self-awareness. It's also about, like, really owning our strengths and weaknesses.
You mean admitting that, yes, I'm a brainstorming queen, but maybe not the best at deadlines?
Precisely. And that's where self-confidence comes in. Not arrogance, but just a real sense of what you bring. And get this, the research actually shows that people who know their strengths, they're better at recognizing when they need help.
Oh, wow. Makes sense, though. If you know you're not, like, a coding whiz, you're going to call your techie friend when your website implodes. So how do we actually, like, work those self-awareness muscles?
Oh.
Didn't our sources mention some techniques?
Oh, they did. Mindfulness is a big one.
Okay, not like hours of meditation.
No. Even just like 5 minutes, just sitting with your thoughts, no judgment, it can make a world of difference.
Reminds me of that emotional check-in thing they mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Basically setting a timer throughout the day and just jotting down how you're feeling.
Like taking your emotional temperature. Love that. And don't forget good old-fashioned journaling.
Journaling. I could do that. Doesn't have to be, like, prize-winning literature, right?
No way. Just scribbling your thoughts and feelings, it can really bring awareness to those, those subtle emotional things we miss.
Right. Okay, so we've got our mindfulness, we're journaling.
Yeah.
It's like our self-awareness toolkit is coming together.
Yeah.
But awareness is only half the battle, am I right? What about when we're facing, like, a tsunami of emotions? That's where self-management comes in, yeah?
100%. Self-management, that's the next big piece in our emotional intelligence puzzle. It's like having a toolkit, for your emotions.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Not about suppressing or ignoring your feelings.
Right.
It's giving you the skills to handle, really, whatever life throws at you.
Okay, so real-life scenario. That email from, let's say, a not-so-great coworker lands in my inbox.
Ooh, I know those emails.
I feel that familiar wave of, anger, maybe a little frustration.
The worst.
Self-management is hitting pause before I don't know, unleash a reply I'll regret.
You're getting it. Our sources, they're big on this. It's about making choices, especially when things are heated.
Instead of letting my emotions just take the wheel and drive me straight into a wall.
Exactly. Self-management, it's like that split-second decision to choose a different path, one that actually gets you where you want to go. And our research, it breaks this down even further into these core skills.
Okay, hit me with it.
Emotional regulation, adaptability, self-control, and, keeping a positive outlook no matter what.
That's a lot to unpack,
Yeah,
but it sounds powerful.
it is.
Okay, let's start with emotional regulation. What does that look like day to day?
It's like you're not erasing your emotions,
Okay.
right? But you're learning to manage how intense they get.
Okay.
So say you're stressed, totally overwhelmed. Emotional regulation might look like, I don't know, a walk outside, some deep breaths, maybe listening to music.
Finding what works for you.
Exactly.
I'm a big fan of a brisk walk around the block, I gotta say. It's like a reset button. But what about those times when, you know, things just go sideways? No matter how much we try to control things, that's got to be where adaptability comes in, yeah.
You're spot on. Adaptability is all about rolling with the punches. And our sources, they had this one story about a CEO. His company got bought out, totally unexpected.
Really?
And instead of panicking, which, understandable, he took a step back and he was like, okay, this is uncertain. But then he focused on what he could control,
Which was?
communicating with his team, changing his leadership style for this new environment.
Wow. Turning a stressful situation into like a learning experience. That's
Yeah.
impressive. But let's be real. Sometimes it feels like our emotions, they have a mind of their own,
Oh, yeah.
especially when those emotional triggers rear their ugly heads.
Ah, yes. Emotional triggers. Tricky, tricky things. Remember how we were talking about self-awareness being the foundation of emotional intelligence?
Yeah.
Well, this is part of it. Figuring out what sets you off so you can be ready.
Like learning to see those emotional landmines before you step on them.
Exactly.
For some people, it might be, I don't know, a certain tone of voice,
Yeah.
maybe a topic that just pushes their buttons.
Definitely.
And our sources said once you know your triggers, you can actually like strategize around them. Were there any strategies, any in particular from the research that stood out to you?
Oh, for sure. One that I really liked was this, they called it reframing the situation.
Reframing.
Challenging those automatic negative thoughts, looking for a different angle. Like, imagine your boss gives you some tough feedback.
Ugh, the worst.
And you're thinking, oh no, she hates my work, I'm out of here. But what if you flipped the script? Instead, you think, okay, she sees room for improvement. This is how I grow.
It's amazing how much of a difference changing your perspective can make.
It really is. That's the power of self-management right there.
So we've got self-awareness,
Yeah.
the base, and self-management, the tools we use. But something tells me this EI journey doesn't end there, does it?
It does not.
Because there's a whole world of other people's emotions out there, too.
A whole world. And you're right, self-awareness, self-management, they're crucial. But they're only half of it when it comes to really mastering this whole emotional intelligence thing. That's where social awareness comes in, tuning into the emotions of others,
Okay.
reading between the lines, seeing the things people aren't saying.
Okay, full disclosure, this is where I struggle sometimes. Like, I can be a little clueless about those nonverbal signals,
Oh, I get it.
like someone's tone or body language. It's like I miss half the conversation.
It's a common one, trust me. A lot of people find this part tough. Our sources, they talked about how social awareness, it's not just listening to the words, right?
Yeah.
It's paying attention to everything else.
Yeah.
Facial expressions, how they're standing, even when they just stop talking.
So it's like reading the room, but on a whole other level.
Exactly.
Like that example they gave, the team meeting,
Yeah.
the one where that coworker is. Like unusually quiet,
Oh, yeah.
someone with good social awareness, they pick up on that, realize there's something more going on.
Exactly. They understand that everybody, they bring their own stuff to the table.
Right.
Their past experiences, what they're going through, all of it.
And that those things, even unspoken, they matter just as much as the words.
Right, absolutely. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Our research, it's saying empathy is key here.
Empathy, that ability to like step into someone else's shoes and see the world from their point of view.
Exactly, trying to understand what it's like to be them, even if you haven't lived their exact life.
Okay, so we're not just like observing those cues, we're actually trying to connect with the emotions behind them.
Yes.
But how do we actually get better at this? Any practical tips from the sources?
One of the best ones, active listening.
Okay.
Really, really focusing on the person talking. Not just their words, but their tone, body language, everything. Asking questions to make sure you get it.
So putting aside your own stuff and just trying to understand their experience.
You got it. Making them feel heard. And here's another important point. Social awareness. It also means being aware of the vibe of a group, a situation.
So not just one-on-one, but like A team meeting,
Yeah.
a party, even walking down a crowded street.
Exactly. It's called organizational awareness in our materials, but basically it's recognizing those unspoken rules, those power dynamics that are always there.
Being able to read the room and, I guess, adjust accordingly.
Yes.
This is making a lot of sense. But something tells me social awareness, it's just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to actually, navigating relationships with other humans.
Right. You're right on track. Social awareness, it's the groundwork, but the real magic, that happens when we bring in relationship management. And that's a whole other layer of emotional intelligence, relationship management. Like, how do we use all this EI stuff to actually build better relationships, the kind that make life, richer?
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. Paint me a picture. What does good relationship management actually look like in real life?
You remember that story from the sources, the one with the manager? She had to mediate between two coworkers who were, well,
At each other's throats.
basically, that's a perfect example. See, she didn't just pick a side or force a solution.
Right, right.
She used her emotional intelligence to actually help them find a solution together, one that worked for everybody.
She was like a relationship ninja. What was her secret?
It goes back to those EI skills. She really listened to both sides, acknowledged their feelings, and she helped them, find that common ground. That's huge.
So it's more about building that bridge, strengthening the relationship,
Yes.
than just like winning the argument.
Exactly. Our research really highlighted this. Conflict management, it's essential for strong relationships, addressing those disagreements head on, but with empathy,
Uh-huh.
not letting things fester.
Right. Makes sense for like a disagreement with your partner, a roommate even.
Mm-hmm.
But what about when you're, I don't know, trying to encourage someone? Our sources talked about influence as being a big part of relationship management, right?
Huge. And it makes sense, right? Influence, it's like you're using your understanding of people to guide them.
Okay.
In a good way, of course, not manipulation. It's about helping them be their best.
So a great leader, they don't just boss people around, they inspire their team,
100%.
which probably gets way better results in the long run anyway.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the best ways to do that, to build that influence, is just genuine support. Our research, it showed that people, they'll bend over backwards for someone who believes in them, celebrates their wins.
It all comes back to trust, doesn't it?
It really does.
Knowing someone has your back, they want you to succeed,
Mm.
makes a world of difference.
The world and trust, it's built over time, right? With honesty, consistency, allowing yourself to be a little vulnerable.
This has been, wow, eye-opening to say the least. We've tackled the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence, dove into some fascinating research,
Fascinating.
and walked away with some pretty practical tools.
Tools you can use today.
But for our listeners out there who are, ready to start their own EI journey, what's one last thought you can leave them with?
One last thought. Okay. Think about a relationship, any relationship that's important to you. Could be a partner, a friend, a coworker, whoever. Now ask yourself this. How can I use just one of these EI skills we've talked about to make that connection even stronger? Because the answer to that question, that's where the real magic happens.
And that's our deep dive on emotional intelligence. We'll see you next time.